Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. I'm Nicolas Nicu. I'm the CEO and founder of Classter, and welcome to the October webinar, Classter Unleashed by CEO series of webinars. We do these webinars every few months. We haven't done a webinar for a few months now, so welcome back to the new school year and to the new series of webinars. Today we are going to talk about the transportation module, and hopefully you will find the features and the capabilities of this module quite exciting. Of course, this is a module that is mostly related to K-12 schools and schools that they manage the transportation of students. So let's start and discuss about what this module offers and how we can configure it and go through a demo. So the agenda will be to discuss about the module functionality. We will discuss about what's new. We will do some demo scenarios, and then we have some Q&As and tips and frequently asked questions answered and things like that. Our vision for transportation is that we provide an easy and connected operations for the transportation office. They can manage transportation in relation to what happens in school, including extra curriculum activities and changes in the timetables and things that happens in academics. And this module works in connection also with billing, so we can bill the service of transportation to parents and students. And of course, we want to enable parents to send us information about absences, attendance, information about if they're not going to use the bus for a day, and also to give us their initial preferences about the use of buses or transportation, which days, what routes, what addresses, and so on. So those are the two main goals, and all these work together with Google Maps, and we try to design the routes and manage all this in Classter. So the main functions of the transportation module is, first of all, everything starts or can start, if you wish, with the parents registering intentions or wishes. That basically means they can tell us if they want to use bus, if the children are going to use bus, which days, and what are the addresses or the stops they prefer their students to be picked up or delivered or drop off when they return from school. The second main function or feature of the transportation module is related to the design of routes and how we fill in the routes with students. Then we have tools to manage any changes that happen, and usually a lot of changes happen that are permanent changes. So when a student, for example, stops once activity and starts another activity, that leads to a change to the bus routes. We have the capability of listing all the students per route and then use check-in, check-out in the bus. So Classter offers a web form that can be used by a tablet within the bus to check in all the students and check out all the students. This list will present all students who are going to be in the bus today. And for that to be accurate, we need to register in Classter any exception or change for then that specific date or a period of time, a number of days. So this is called exceptions and can be registered in Classter either by parents or by back office employees. So parents call the school and they inform that the student will not come, or they will drive the student to the school. That will create an exception once registered. The next feature is that we can see where the bus is when we start a route. The bus driver or the chaperone, the co-driver, can start the route. So we get live data from about the position of the bus, and that then will be informed, will be presented to the to parents where the bus is. Of course, there are a lot of tools to communicate with parents, send information about bus delays, changes, and so on. And we have the capability of managing the bus registration during registration and re-registration process, both admission portal and the registration process. And of course, finally, but maybe the most important thing is that we can bill or invoice the usage of bus by creating special services that are chargeable. Let's try to explain the main entities that we are going to see live in a second. So everything in Classter starts with zones. So the first thing we need to define are the zones we have. Zones are usually timely separated group of routes, of bus routes, and usually we define zones as inward zone and outward zone. So towards the school or to the school or out of the school, from the school back to home. Usually the inward zone is one, but you can have multiple if you have students arriving at school at different time periods. The outwards are very common to be a multiple of different zones. So you can have the evening, the afternoon, the late night, or the night zone. That depends on if all your students leave the school altogether, or you have some students leaving earlier, and then we have another bunch of students leaving later. So the same bus will come back, pick up students a second route, and so on. So keep in mind that we have multiple zones, and those zones are characterized as inwards or outwards. The routes are the main entity in transportation. So a route is basically what we see on the map, so a specific route that a bus will do. Any route or route belongs to a category. A category is like a grouping of routes. So it can usually be geographical. So we can have a category like route central, east, west, north, things like that. Or it can be a group of routes categorized with another way. Chronological, for example. Okay, so if you have a zone, morning zone, and then we can have routes that are early morning, late morning, and so on, then we can create categories like that. If you don't have a lot of buses, so let's say you have up to 20 buses, maybe you don't need categories because you may have 20 routes or maybe 40, 20 in the morning, 20 in the afternoon. So categories are used when we have a lot of routes and we want easily to find and group them. The second thing is that a route belongs to a zone. So it belongs to the morning zone or the afternoon zone. So it is basically a route that is inwards to the school or outwards. It leaves the school. It's out from school back to home. Any route can be has a property that defines if this is an address type of route or stops type of route. The address type of route basically means this is like a taxi type of driving. So each customer says where we want them, where they are, and we are going to pick them up from that specific point. So in this case, we say that the bus will pick up students from specific student-specific points on the map. Okay, so if we have multiple students picked up from the same point, we can go and add the same address multiple times. The other option is that it's like the public bus option. The bus will go through a very specific route, well defined, and then it will stop in specific points on the map or specific stops, and then students have to select from which stop they're going to pick up the bus or at which stop they're going to drop off. So in this case, the route is characterized as stops route. Now, another thing that causes a lot of confusion is the fact that most of the schools initially think routes will be identical for all days. This is true for 90% of the cases, but almost in all cases, 10% of the cases are different. That basically means that students may be different from day to day. So we have a route, which is what we call a route header in Classter, that describes a specific route that we have on the map. And this route is maybe been done every day, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, the set of students in each day maybe is the same, but it may be different. So in reality, any route in Classter is being activated for specific dates. For each day, so for Monday, we have a route detail that defines which bus is going to serve this route on Monday, who is going to be the bus driver, who is going to be the chaperone or the co-driver, what is the starting and ending point, and what is the selection of stops, and what is the selection of students included in this route detailing. Now, usually we define everything for Monday, let's say, and then we can copy everything for all other days, and then we can go to any other day and do any change required. So we can remove a student, add another student, and so on, per route. Okay, so the important thing for you to understand here is that we have multiple route details per route. So we have the route with a name, and then we have the details. For each day, we specify who is in this route. And when we assign students to route, basically we assign students to route details, not to the route header, to the route generally speaking. We need to define per day, and then we can copy. We do one day and copy. Now, the other thing that is important to understand is what is an intention in Classter, bus intention. This is the intention that we are going to use bus, which is basically a checkbox. We use a bus for the student. And then for which days we are going to use the bus. Are we going to use the bus for all days or for a specific day? And the intention then can come with specific requirements from the customer, from the parent or the student, that we want to be picked up from this address, or you want to reserve a seat on this spot, on this stop, sorry. So those kind of preferences can be given by parents. Those can be given at any time during the year or during the registration. And we can enable the parents portal to have this capability so parents can go and give this information to us. We can use this information to design our routes and how the students are assigned to different routes. The other thing we can do is a check-in, check-out. That goes hand by hand with something that we call calendar position of the student in Classter. That basically means this is the position of the student within the campus over the time. So, however, within this feature, we have also the buses. So when we check in the student to the bus, we check in student in a specific bus, so we know the position of the students in the bus. When we check out the student, he is checked out in the campus. And then we can check in the student into the classroom, into the library, into the canteen, and so on. So we know exactly where the student is chronological within the campus. The important thing here for the transportation module is that we can do this for the buses, and we know that the student is in the bus or outside the bus, provided that the chaperone or the bus driver does check-in, check-out with the tools we provide. And we provide a specific daily route management screen form, where basically we can do check-in, check-out. Then is the exception. Now, whatever we do in routes, the assignments are going to be repeated for the whole school year. An exception, basically it is a definition that something is going to be different for a specific period of time, can be one day or multiple days. And the exceptions can be type of absent, so the student is not coming to the school at all. Can be that the student is present, but they are not going to use the bus, so we are going to drive the student to the school, for example, for some reason, or we are going to pick up the student from the school, so we are going outside the city, so we will pick up the student and go somewhere else, so the student is not going to use the bus on a specific date. Okay, so today, 14th of October, Thursday, we are not going to use the bus. So I want to register that into the system. Either I call the school and they registered, or I go to the parents portal, I do the registration myself, and the student is not anymore part of the today's route, only today's. Next Thursday, he's going to be, or tomorrow, he's going to be part of the route. The same thing is that if we are defined that we want to pick up the student in a different point or drop off the student, so we call the school and say, can you please deliver the student to my mother's home, to grandmother's home, because I'm late at work. And that is a change for specific date. And the student basically change bus, change route. Okay. And of course, this can be done. The change of address is that the ways is to change the address. Now the school has to decide in which route the student will be set for today. Where the other case is that we enable the change of the routes, and then we say, I want the student to be on this route. Usually this is done by back office employees, not by the parents, of course. And then the final thing is that we want to charge the transportation service. So it's a service, which is an activity in Classter that is related to the bus and is charged. So all that said, let's go back to Classter, or let's go to Classter and see all the features in live. So here I have done a logon as a back office admin who has access to the transportation, and here I have done a logon as a parent. Let's start with the configuration so we understand how things are. Give me a second, please. How things can be configured in Classter. And then we will go really to see how we manage all this. So everything in transportation is either configured. Everything is related to configuration is either configuration and transportation. In the day-to-day business, everything is in transportation. This is the main thing. And then another thing that is important is in the student list, you can use two lists that are very important for the transportation office. Students per bus usage, students per bus usage week view, those two are very important. And in specific cases, you may want to use students per service week view, where you can see the extra curriculum services provided to the students that may change over the time and lead to a change to the bus service. So because you change, the student is on a basketball camp, but now he quits from the basketball, and from now on he will be on the volley camp. So the time of volley is different, so the student will be forced to take another route. So let's start with the configuration. Okay, the first thing is to define fuel types. This is like, it's used in classes very little right now. For future, it's a provision for the future because we want to do cost estimation of the routes. Today we don't do that, but this is the reason we have created that one. However, you need to set up one fuel to create buses, and then you need to create the buses where in the bus you can go and set up the description, the service. Now, the service data, when we need to do car service, and the insurance data and other data are important only if you own the bus and you want to manage those vehicles. If you don't own the bus, basically what you can do here is you can create bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, and you know that those buses can be different from time to time because you're an external provider that gives you the buses. Just you have an internal number for the bus for your own usage. If those are your own buses or they are long list and there are specific vehicles that you want to manage, you can write the plates. Also, if you have external GPS providers on the buses and you want to keep the external IDs of those, you can add it here. So this is the unique identifier of the bus, the unique GPS ID that you have in external systems that you want to put it here. The seats is the maximum number of students available with this bus. This is a number that is inherited in the route and is there where it plays a significant role. Here it's just a place where we can put it for easier management of the whole process. It is not that significant to have it here. Okay. The next thing is what I described before is the route categories. As I said before, route categories is a very simple grouping of routes. The only reason that exists in Classter is for schools that have hundreds of routes and they need to manage them easier and find something easier to be able to categorize those in a way that has some logic for the end users to be able to find things easier. Otherwise, they are not significant. Zones are very important. We can create one or more zones. Usually we have one morning zone and we have multiple zones in the afternoon. Now, what is the question you have to make yourself to decide if you need one or more zones? If a bus during the morning will pick up students, drop off them into the school, leaves again, pick up students, drop them into the school, I need two zones. Okay, because the bus does the same job twice during the morning. So I need two zones, morning zones that are two institutes. Of course, you can do it with one zone, but it's going to be complicated in some cases because we don't know if the bus is active in one zone or in another zone. We need always to separate zones to say from 7 to 8 is the first zone, 8 to 9 second zone. We pick up students from kindergarten, from 8 to 9, for example. Okay, so we can create multiple zones. Any zone can be characterized as inwards or outwards, which is this one. And another thing that is new, we didn't have it before, we can associate zones with specific years or grades in cluster. So we have a zone, for example, that this is very typical for the evening and afternoon. You can say, for example, that the night zone, the late zone, that starts 6 o'clock, it is only for people who are in the high school. Okay, so if the student is not in the high school, this zone or routes belong to this zone cannot be associated with the student. So the system will prevent you from doing mistakes, and that is important when we open up the system and allow parents to start doing things. Okay, this is the important thing. This is where we usually use it. But generally speaking, any zone, it has a description from institute to institute, and then from time to time, years, and so on. Now, the most important editing cluster is zones. So, is routes. So a route can belong to a zone, to a category, and can use stop or addresses. Okay, so those are the basic characteristics. If I press search, it will bring me all the routes I have in this demo. And each one, it's enable or disable, has a description, has a color, because this is what we use on the map. It has a category for filtering. It has a zone, it's a morning, afternoon, so what zone, and that indicates if it's inwards or outwards. And then we define if it has stops or addresses. Again, I repeat, stops is like public bus drive. So we have a specific route, we do a specific thing on the map, and students are asked to be on specific spots where we can pick them up, or we drop off the students in specific spots. It can be 20 students in one stop. If we go address, then for each stop, we can have one student. Now, in the case we have two brothers, for example, it can be the same address twice. So basically, it's exactly the same position on the map. We do the stop, but for cluster, there are 2 points, 2 stops, okay, internally. Now, if we do create new, we can create a new one. I will edit one. Let's edit one that is with addresses. I click here to edit. And here you see on the top, I have the general information. So I can define the description, a full description, which is more text, address or stop, morning or afternoon, and so on, the category and the color, and I can enable. And below, by adding new, I can add the details. So basically, I can enable the specific route for specific dates. Basically, I create what I call route details. Route detail is the definition of how this route works on a specific day. And later, I will assign students on this specific route detail. So I will specify what students I will have in the bus on the specific day. So for Monday here, for example, I will have this bus with those seats that inherits from the bus, but I can change it. This is what I say. This is the important point where we can say how many students can fill up in this, can be in this route detail. Who is the driver? Who is the co-driver? Obviously, the same route, even the same bus, can have a different driver per day. Okay, I'm talking about a regular change. Every Monday this guy, every Tuesday the other guy. I'm not talking about a day that a driver is sick. Okay, here I can specify where is the start of the route and where is the end. So if, for example, you park the bus in a specific bus parking, then you specify an address. You can find the address here on the map, specify the address and give a specific starting point for the route. Okay. Otherwise, you can say that all the buses are parked in the school, so everything starts from the institute. Or I don't care where the bus is. I want to start monitor the whole routing, the whole stuff, from the time I pick up the first student. So in this case, I select student. The same thing for the end. I don't care where the bus stops because it may drop off all the students and then go to a parking, to a specific address to stop, or it may stop in the institute, or I care when I drop off the last student. Now, of course, that end for the student is important when it is outward direction. So when I leave, the last student will be important for the outward, because if for in the inward, the bus will stop in the institute. So anything else makes no much sense. So if the inwards, usually you have institute. In the outwards, you have institute here because you start from the school. But then you define where basically you end. Okay, in the first case, when it's inward, so to the school, you may want to monitor the whole process from the first student or from the specific address, or if the bus leaves from the school to start picking up students, then from the school. And the same thing when we are outward, so we leave the school and we leave students. The last point we want to monitor the bus is when we leave the last student. Then we don't care anymore. We can say if the bus has to come back to the school to park or has to go to the parking address, we can say that the end of the route is in the institute and so on. Now, once we do this, one thing I forgot to say is here we have to define the start and the time. So this is when the whole operation starts. Can be before we pick up the first student, because we start from a parking place, which is 20 minutes away from the first student. So we can put the start and then the date. We can do these things from here also, the same thing for the start and end. So instead of opening the big picture, we can do it from here. And once we do it for one, we can always copy for all other days. And by doing a copy, the system will say, copy, do you want to replace all data, or you don't want, or you want to add new as inactive. So I do a copy, but it stays inactive. And then I can keep which one is active. So usually per day, we should have one active. Having multiple actives per day can create confusion, and we don't suggest that. Okay, say replace all the rows. So like that, I have this information. I have some bulk actions here, so I can change massively the starting and ending point, the bus drivers massively, activate and deactivate massively, and delete massively. So I can select in a bulk a lot, and I can delete, I can change, and so on. I will show you now the other type of the routes, which is with stops. So if I go to the stops here, then I have routes with stops. The difference now is that I have this icon where I can specify what are the stops this route is going to do. Okay, so I can have different stops, select those, and add. I can add a new stop here by pressing this button, and then I can say, okay, let's make here, this is going to be a stop. I can select it on the map, and then I can write the name of the stop. This is the University of Birmingham Sports and Fitness stop. And then I can save it, and eventually I can add it to my route or not. I will not save it now. And then I can see how this route looks like on the map in total. Okay, so I see now that this is the stops this route does. Okay. I can close, I will not save because I don't want to destroy my route. So this is basically with the routes. Now, where the list of all stops are, they are here. So here I have all the list of the stops. One thing I forgot to tell is that we can create dummy stops. Dummy stops or passing points are basically points on the map that we force the bus to pass, but it will not pick up students. The reason we have those stops is that if you want to manipulate the routes on the map and force the buses to go from another route, so you want to avoid tolls or a highway or a street that you know that is very busy every morning, so you want to force the bus to go somewhere else, and Google gives you another route, and you want to make sure that Google provides you the right picture. So you add a passing point, which is basically a dummy stop. Okay, now how do you do that? Is you create new and you enable the passing point when you select a point on the map. Okay, here in any of the stops you can see who are the students. Let me see if I find any stopping students. So here you can see the students per day, and then you can select one of those and move them to another stop. So in the same or another route, you can see the stops and move them to another stop. If I press transfer the students as a bulk, they are transferred from one stop to the other. Okay, so this is a tool that allows you to transfer students back in a bulk from stops to stops because one stop is cancelled, or you have too many students in one stop and you want to split them, things like that. Okay. Now, if we have done this, we have done most of the configuration. There are a few things in the general settings we can discuss about the configuration that I'm going to do at the end. You can find here in general what we configure here is we configure a few things related to what parents can do, how they can set up intentions, things like that, how they can set up exceptions, what messages we send, and a few other things. So you see there are the intentions, the parents' portal transportation, and some basic data. Okay, so let's go and see the basic now usage of the module after we have done the configuration, how things can be used. I will take the first scenario. We have no intentions, so parents do not tell us anything. We have all the intentions in a paper, or we know them, or by call. Somehow we know who is going to use bus, and somehow we know what address they prefer, and we do this. We have this information somehow, and we are going to use this Classter now to use all this information. We haven't collected the information via Classter. That is the difference. The second scenario is that we collect this information from Classter, using Classter. So in this case, the first thing is to define who uses buses. So if you go to the list of students, you will have all the students here. And we need to define who uses buses. So that can be done, of course. Let me open a student. Can be done on a student by student. So you can go to the form of the student and specify that the specific student uses a bus. So this click here means that the student uses or does not use a bus. So he is eligible to be in bus routes and then, of course, to be charged. We can do this on massively, so on bulk, we can select multiple students here, like this, and say bulk actions, bulk edit. Here we can change different fields of the student. This is something new for you that you know Classter. This is something new in the new version. It's going to be extended with all fields of the student. So in bulk, we can modify fields of the student. For the time being, we have done it only for few fields. So bus usage, yes, save, all the students will be with the switch on. Off, there will be with no switch, will be no bus usage anymore. Okay, now, how do I see who uses buses? I want to find all the students who use buses because what I want to do is to charge them for the bus. Okay. So you can go here, advanced filters, and students who have bus usage. Apply. So out of 435 students, 52 students use buses in my case. Okay, this is a way to see who uses bus. All right. Now this is in the name in the list. Of course, another way to see who uses bus. More importantly, I can see who doesn't use bus to go and enable. Okay. Another thing I can do is I can go students per bus usage weekly view, and here I have all students who use the bus. Coming up with information about what routes are going to assign to those students per day. So what you see Monday to the school, Monday from the school, Tuesday to the school, Tuesday from the school, and so on, the whole week. You see the main class, you see the year, the home phone numbers, full name, parents' mobile, phone number. You see the basic data here about the students. And let's maximize it so we have a nice view here. You have all the data. And here you can see that this student, it is being assigned to this route. So if I click on a student, let me do it because it will give me the information about who is a pickup person, what is the agreed time, any comment, the services of the activities of the student, and the timetable of the student for today. Let's find a student with more data. Set that for that student. By the way, here also we have advanced filters. So I can set per route categories. I can set for specific routes, only specific levels or locations, specific years, specific class, region. So give me everybody who is, I don't know, in borough. Subjects. So everybody who does specific subjects, services, and show me all students, only students that they are not assigned to a route. Okay, so this student will be, in this case, Francesca will be out, but Helen will be in because she doesn't have a route on Wednesday from and Tuesday from. Okay, and also show me inactive routes. If I have inactivated in a route, still is assigned to students, maybe I want to see it here. Here I can see, if I press this one, I can open the student, of course. Okay, if I have the right to do so. Let's go back. One thing I can do is I can see the address, the agreed time, pick-up time or delivery time of the student. Here I can see all the different services the student has for all days. Here is the enrollments of the student, so I can call and find out who is the teacher and we need to conduct. Here is the timetable of the student, so I have the overview of the timetable of the student and see, for example, that he is on this cricket, so this is maybe the reason that this student is late. I need to see what is going on with the cricket club. And here, if I have done a check-in of the student, I can see when last time was check-in. So he was checked in the bus, or last time he was check-in in the hospital or the doctor office. So something is happening with his student. This is the reason that the bus driver says me that I'm waiting for Francie. She's not coming. What is going on? I can check and I find that she's in the hospital. So maybe I need to call there and see what is going on. So this is the registration status of the student, of course, and I have all the usual actions. Here I can add students massively, so I can come here and say I want to add this student to a route for a specific date, so for Wednesday, okay, or outwards. So I can select the route, and then I can select also from which stop I want the student. If the route has stops, if the route doesn't have a stop, it has address, then I can select which address of the student I want to use. All the addresses of the student are here, or I can give a new address, which then is going to be added to the student, and select the address from the map. So like that, a new address is added to the student. It is a pickup address, which is set up, the type of address is set up in the configuration, and I can write the agreed time, I can write some comments here, and so on. Now, one thing that is important for you maybe to understand is the is main or is basic option. Now, what I can do is for the same day, for the same student, I can have two routes, one basic and alternatives, not basics. So let's say that I have a student that very often goes to grandmother. So usually every Wednesday he goes to home, but every third Wednesday, parents call me and he goes to grandmother. Now, if I want, I can create this route registered into the student screen. So this student then easily can be picked up from the transportation office and say, okay, we will change and send it to the grandmother. And that we know that goes to this bus. We don't need to evaluate at that time in which bus I need to add the student for that address. So this is easy things for the people on the transportation office to decide that the student is moved from one. It's an exception from one route to another. Okay. So this is a very nice view with a lot of bulk actions. You can change stop route, you can change pickup time massively. So you can select multiple students and say all those will be picked up 7:30. You can activate set main or not set main, or create an exception for a number of students. Okay, from here, so you can see the situation and say, oh, those guys, all of those, they do, let's say, a specific thing. They are all of those in a specific route. So let's move them to another route just for the day, because we know that something is happening with this route. Okay, if I open the student, the similar information I find I have already a student here switched on, so I can go to the transportation tab here, where I have all the information about the student. I can see the lat and long for the position, so we know that this student has a specific lat and long for this address that we have decided to pick up the student. I can see that it's active, it's main, where's the address. I can do edit of all this data from here, and I change it, change the comments and so on. And I can see also the services for today. Okay, so what time the services have been added for that student for today. Okay, we can show inactive routes, we can show alternative routes. So if the student has alternative route, it will show when we switch on this one. Here, it is the intentions, we'll come to in a second about it, and the exceptions we have registered to the student. So let's see if we have any exception here. Let's find Greek or Greek we can open it from here actually. So here you can see that it does cricket today, tennis 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then if we have any exception is here. All exceptions are registered here, and of course I can do a copy of the exception of every week or every day. So I can say every Wednesday for the next 3 weeks, this is not going to go to another route because it goes to grandmother. Okay, that changes the list of students for the specific route only for specific number of weeks for specific days. Another thing that we can use in the student list is the view here. One thing I forgot before I go to the other view is that we can massively at any point set the students the correct coordinates in Google Maps. So if students do not appear on the map correctly, you can always select one or more students. First of all, you can you can select and see them on the map. So see where they are on the map. So you see they are here. And if they don't appear correctly, you want to recalculate the lat and long, you can do this, and the system will run an operation with Google and will recalculate the address of the student. The address of the student is the coordinates are always visible in the student profile here. You see this is the addresses, and here is the recalculation for one student. So the same thing for one student, and of course here I can see where this address is on the map. Okay. The same thing is valid for the additional addresses and so on. Now, let's go back. Let's go to the last view, and then we go to how we can going to design routes more effectively using maps. So the other thing is the students per bus. So here is the same thing, but we can see the information about the students per student on a list. So every day we can take one day if we want, and then we can say Monday, for example, and I want to see it per route. So I want to see what students are for all routes per day. So I see the list of students, and I can do changes here and so on. Okay. Again, we have different tools here. One of the nice tools is they convert intentions to routes, which basically means that we can take the initial wishes of the student, and the system will try to map them directly to specific stops and addresses if this is possible. And the other thing is transfer routes to another period, which basically means that we transfer from one year to the other. So if the routes is almost the same, all students, when they move from one year to the other, we can transfer the address routes. One thing here, we can do this also when you transfer students from one year to the other. We can say also that transfer student routes. If we select this, when we transfer students, will be all the routes will be transferred. In the settings, we can say if the parents do re-registration, if the same thing happens. So they will open the tab of the transportation with all the information filled in, and they can verify and say if they want any change, or even hide the tab of the transportation and the change. The transportation data is transferred automatically, including the wish to use the bus or not. They check use bus or not. Another interesting thing is that if we have students like this and we want to put them based on the time of delivery, we can go and select all those. Then what we can run here, bulk action, is reorder students in routes based on the agreed time. So we have the agreed time of each student, and then we can go and change the position of the students within the route. So the order we leave them or pick them up, which is important because this is how we see it in the list. Okay. Of course, we can in bulk change here the time, the pickup time, so we can select one by one the students and change the pickup time, or we can do this from the form of the student. Usually we do it from here or from the route configurator we are going to see now. And another thing we can also do is to see how this route looks on the map by pressing the map, and it will give us the information about this route, how it looks like, and so on. And the other thing we can do here is to press this one and see the details about the route and the stops that this has. Now, let's go to the transportation now and talk about the route configurator. The route configurator is very important because it allows us to visually design the routes. So this advanced view, advanced screen, advanced tool has two filters. On the left, we filter students. So basically you can filter based on the location, or in the advanced filter, you can specify specific years, specific status. And then here you filter students only that have specified intentions. So that if we have collected intentions, then we can use this one. If we haven't collected, this is completely irrelevant. The same with this one. This will be switched on only if we have collected intentions beforehand. If we haven't, this is off. Here is where the students are presented on the map. The use specific address category basically means that we pick up the address of the student in the main address and we present the students on the map using the main address. Or if I have decided, for example, to have a specific address for pickup, drop off, like bus pickup point, I can specify a second address only for that work. Then I can use this one, for example. If I have wishes, I can take the addresses from the parent has given from the wishes, from the intention. The dynamically select address, basically what it does is it tries to find if there is a specific type that is defined in the settings that we are going to use as first. So let's say most of the students will use the main address. In some specific cases, I want to have exceptions, and I have to have another type, which is called the pickup point, bus pickup point. So basically what it does, it says, firstly, go check if there is an address in pickup. If it doesn't, take the main address. So it basically takes the rules, the order of the address type, they have an order, and then if you don't use this, if you don't find anything there, then the main address. 90% of the case we use this. Okay, to the right, we specify which routes we want to present to fill in with students. Usually we say, let's say, we want to fill in firstly to institute. So we start with the morning, so to drive students to the school. And then let's select one zone. We have in our case, we have only one zone. And then we say we can walk in two modes, either for the routes that are based on addresses and routes that are based on stops. Generally speaking, in most of the countries we have seen younger, so elementary school, they use addresses. Older people use stops. In many countries, they use only stops. So you can define how you want to use this form. And then you do this for 1 day. Once we do it for 1 day, then the next thing is that we can copy that to all other days. So let's do it for Monday. and that is for addresses. So here are the different routes. If I can start having these routes here, I can specify a route. I can press this one to see the route on the map, or a second one. I can see a second route on the map. Let me see. So this is the second route on the map. So now I have two routes. And here I have the students. Now this student is not in a route. I can drag it and drop the student here. And then I can move it into the position I want. Okay. If I can redraw this position, and then the system will give me how the route looks like. So I can move up and down the students. I can drag and drop students into the specific routes. So this is the other route. Let's put also this student here. And then I can design the route, and they can give me now this goes from here up down, and this is the reason it did focus out. I can write the agreed time here after I do a test driving, a test route. I can specify who is the pickup person. Okay, it will bring me all the persons from the student card. Here I can add an exception. So I see this and see that there is an issue for today, for a specific date or a period of time. I can add exceptions from here directly. A change for a specific time. I have to say, I don't remember. This is exception, yes. And then I can do a save. Okay, that will keep all the data as they are specified. Okay, so from here, I can open the details and change something if I wish. And of course, I can collapse, and expand in total from here. Okay, and I can see all the routes on the map here. I can print it. I can do the auto draw. So instead of pressing and pressing, and this is what I want to see in the student position. If I do a full name and do search again, it will show me the full name. You see now see the names instead of something else. So I have the name, the position, number 1, number 2, or the abbreviation of the student, which is used in the student card. And then with the search, it will do this change, decide what I want to see. Okay. So this is a way to start designing. Let's take another example with stops. So now I have a stop. I have this one with stops. So I can press this to see how this looks like. This is my design, and this is a stop. So I can see this. This is let's say the Albion Street and 1 Street. So I can go and say I want to add this student. Here's the data of the student. I can drag and drop in this stop, and I take this student and drag and drop in this stop, and so on. Now there is a small glitch here that does focus out and design that this is something we're going to fix. It is under development, but otherwise you can use this very nicely to start adding students to different stops. Of course, you can move the students up and down here. That's make much sense because they are on the same stop. But most importantly, you can move the stops up and down. Okay, and the system will redesign the whole route. So this is a way to do design of the routes and see how this looks on the map. See what students they haven't been on any route and needs to be designed for Monday. And then I can do this for Tuesday if I want, or I can come here and copy the information I have on all other dates. So let's make a save here to keep the information. And here I can reorder the students based on the time. So it does the automatically reorder the student based on the time here. And the same for the stops. And I have a lot of nice printouts that you can use it. For example, the driver schedule. So any driver, what schedule has. So I can select this Jim Carter, the zones. Can see the students only the routes with what he does every day. So I can give him all the information about the what routes he does on every day per driver, with all the information about the students and so on. Of course, I can do this per driver or per co-driver and so on. The other thing is that we can see the route pickups or overview. So basically information about the different routes for the morning and so on. So there are a lot of nice reports there. Of course, most of the information. So here you can see for each student when they use the bus. This one use it only for Monday. Okay, so let me do a zoom. So you have this kind of information. Of course, these reports can be configured by you if you have the still DB edition, and you can do things like that. The other thing we do is we can have this screen for a specific day. Let's take this. It will give you who are the students in this route. By pressing start route, we use this in a tablet. In the bus, start route, the system starts setting the information of where there's a GPS of the bus, so parents can see it and you can see it in the bus live positioning here. You can see where the bus are. You can see what is live. Now I think it's not going to work in my case because so you see this is in progress. This is the only route that is live, and it can show you where it is. It is my office. So you saw it doesn't change because I'm not moving. And here we can do check-in a student. We were in the bus stop, the student never presented, not present, check-in, and so on. Now, so this is inward, so we start checking in the student as we go. We do the driving, we pick up the next student, we pick up the next student. So all students are now picked up and we arrive in the school. What I do is a bulk checkout. So all students now, they are checked out in bulk. So like that, the system knows in the positioning, and if we go here to the calendar and we go to the student positioning calendar, we will have the information about all the students for today who are checked in, check out. I'm not sure if I have, yes, here they have done check-in in the bus, check out in the bus with information, which bus route we did stop, we pick them up. So we do have this information. When the student does check-in into the attendance, this is works with attendance. We can back check in of the student to the class, so we know they are in the class. Other thing we can do is let's change that now. Let's start from scratch. Now, if I can do that or not can do that is configurable. Let's do what we want. We have this. We did check into that one, check into that one, and then we have an accident. So we are going to be delayed 20 minutes for the next one. So what I'm going to do is to send a message to all waiting the bus. Now the system knows that only those three are waiting the bus. So I write the message and I send the message to them, and that will go with internal message, SMS, email, depending on the configuration I've done. I can, where if it is outward, it is whoever is not checked out. Okay, so this is the difference. So if it was an outward, then basically what I do, if I take an outward route, which I'm not sure which one is, anyway, I will take another one, let's say. Then what I can say that I can check all the students in at the beginning when I leave the school, and then this is left, and then I have to deliver Francesca. And then something happens. So if I send now a message, because it's an outward, will go only to Francesca. Okay, so sorry, it will, yes, it will go only to the person who is in the bus, those who hasn't done checkout. So there's a different thing. Now, we have seen most of the stuff related here. This is a form where we can add exception. As we said, exceptions can be added either from the list, can be added here. So we have a call center, people call during the morning, student is ill, is not coming. So I can select the student, I can find the name, and then I say this student is absent. I can write a comment about it, what they told me. If they told me it's going to be off and tomorrow, I can say and tomorrow save, and the student is going to be absent for a number of days. However, the system found there is already an exception, says if you want to replace this, and that does a replace for the student. So the student is off for both routes. Another student can be off only during for one route. So we say it will not use the morning route, it will use the other route. So save, this student is going to be out. Again, I do the same test. Anyway, will be out for the specific date. So this is how we deliver exceptions. So if we go to the bus daily routes here and we select this one, I think, I'm not sure. You see Francesca is not anymore here. This is gone because she got an exception for today. If I delete the exception, she will be back here. Okay, so let's go to the last point, is what parents can do and see. So here I'm a parent. Let's make a refresh first of all. You see that the system immediately tells me that Francesca is in the bus, and I can see where the bus is on the map. It didn't move much. So directly I can see where the students are on the bus. That will go to the mobile app. Right now in the mobile app is only the exceptions, so parents can go and add exceptions. The bus library positioning is in the next round of development. How do parents add exceptions, provided that the exceptions are open for today still? I can come and add with a very similar way an absence or change of address, which for change of address. That will go as a message to specific employees, and then they can go to the list of exceptions and decide what to do with the student. The intentions is a bit different. In the intentions, usually you can do it at any time of the year. It can refer to the next year or this year. It is up to you. It is part of either of this option here, or can be done as part of the re-registration. So when I do registration, let's check first the registration and then the normal one. So when I do re-registration, the system basically asks me to move the student. I agree that the student will continue next year. That can lead to financial agreements, to a number of things, enrollments, selection of activities and services, consents, among other things, transportation. So are you going to use transportation? Yes, I'm going to use transportation. I want the same thing for all days. I want to, from that address on my home, this is the person who is responsible for the student. It can be a nanny or somebody else. You will deliver to that one. I will pick it up. I can write a comment about it. And that is from the parent, and it's the same for all days, or I can do different things per day. So I can say, I don't want Friday, I want Friday morning, I want all other days. And like that, the parents can go and give us this information. The same thing can do it from the intentions. So you can go and provide the intention for the school. That work with addresses, or if I go to the settings here, it can work with bus stops, or the user selects bus stop or address. It can be different charts, for example. So here is where we define this one. Here is either have to select a zone or no. So by selecting a zone, that will change this kind of information. Let me see. Maybe you don't need even check out, but you need it. You can select a zone instead. First of all, no, it was already there. I should have done it. The change of school period. Sorry, intentions. So now I can select which zone I want to use, and the parent selects this one. Okay, so I give the right to the parent to decide about it. These kind of settings are all configurable here. You can have a look. Just to inform you that a new work is undergoing in Classter. We are going to document all settings in a very much detail with examples, and you will have a link here in all settings within the next few months, and you will go to help.classter.com with very specific information about all these settings, how you can manage those. A couple of last things, and I'm ready for questions if any. In the year, I can specify for specific year. If it's year, it is it uses stops or addresses, or allow end users to select. If we, for that year, we inherit the transportation from previous year. Why? When a student moves from elementary to high school, for example, or to middle school, we don't, maybe things change completely. So we don't want in this case to move the information about any route to the next year. So when I move students from one year to the other, I select I want to move routes, but for year one in high school, I don't want to do that. Okay, and then we can say for specific years what zones are available. Is the same thing we saw before from zones. So you have seen that we have done a lot of tremendous work on this module the last 1 year. It was a focus in our company to finalize this module. We see the value in multiple customers, and I believe now it is a very comprehensive, very configurable and full module. You can use it in multiple of ways. We have been struggling many years to manage to reach at this point. I'm very happy that we have done so. More to come. I'm sure that you will see more exciting stuff related to all this, more integration related to the services and how those change the buses and so on. I give you a couple of more tips that are important. When I go to the students here, if I want to change things in the student, I can do it from here. It's the same thing. When I do an edit, I can activate the date on specific date. That means that the change is done today, but at the next Wednesday, I'm going to create exceptions because we are going to use the old data. So the student is, let's say, in route 1, and next Wednesday he's going to move out from basketball and be in volley club. So now he moves from route 1 to route 2 because volleyball is 1 hour later. Okay, that means that the student next Wednesday starts living with another route. So I do the change now because I have to do my job and finish with that. And I specify next Wednesday. For that change, the system will create automatically exceptions until Wednesday, and it will keep the student to the route 1 and not to the route 2 that is in the new route for the student. Tools like that are going to be added. Nice ideas are welcome by everybody. Go also to the student list, evaluate how you can use the service weekly view, which is a very nice way to see the overview of what students do per week for extracurriculum activities that usually influence a lot the bus section. Other things that you can see is that in the attendance, in the service attendance, we now have information about bus exceptions. So if there are changes there on the bus that influence this, so we try to connect attendance, services, extracurriculum activities, bus management, all under one unified methodology, and try to make all this automated, including the information sent from one person to the other. So I think you enjoyed the webinar. If you have questions, I'm here to answer for a while. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. There was no questions. Probably I said everything very well, or it's too complex, I don't know. However, you can send me any question, any idea, any suggestion, any proposal to my email. Some of you, you know me. I'm really hands-on guy. I like what we do here and try to make it better and better. And this is our commitment to you guys, new or existing or new customers. We are committed to improve this on a constantly timely manner. Okay, thank you very much.